Hey everybody, Hero TJ at your service. Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown, the show where we count down the days to the release of Smash Ultimate for Nintendo Switch on December 7th by unpacking the items on the Smash blog, breaking them down day by day, supplementing it with stories. I relay my thoughts and impressions, but I want this to be a two-way discussion, so make sure you join the conversation in the comment section below about anything Smash related, whether it be a topic we cover in this episode or just something that interests you, because if it's important to you, it's important to me. We had a Nintendo Direct this week, so I'll be sure to add in any Smash-related updates as well. Let's get started. First up, we have a character spotlight for Nintendo's most notorious nemesis, Bowser. Bowser's the first baddie to actually make an appearance in Smash Bros. Back in Melee. The first title for the Nintendo 64, if you remember, didn't actually have any bad guys. They were all Nintendo's classic heroes fighting each other, which is kind of what set the game apart, because usually all of those characters fight the respective bad guys from their own games. But Mario's been facing off against Bowser since the first Super Mario Bros. On the original NES. Although back in those days, I don't remember if he was actually called Bowser. I think he might have just been King Koopa. I don't remember exactly when that rebranding occurred, but we know that big bad boss is Bowser now. The name's stuck and it's here to stay. What I love about Bowser, not just as a villain but as a character, is he always serves the role that he needs to play. He can be a chilling villain, but he can also be your tennis doubles partner. Nintendo's messaging with Bowser is really on point to me, and that's just that this guy is a villain, but he loves being a villain, and we love him being the villain. He's not evil in the classic sense where what he stands for is morally reprehensible, just that his interests are at odds with the hero. At times, sometimes their interests align and they have to work together, like in Super Mario RPG. On that note though, Bowser's scale, his actual size, can shift dramatically from game to game depending on what the needs of that game are. Anytime the scale argument came up for Ridley, Bowser was the first thing that came to my mind. I remember him feeling like he was only a little bit bigger than Super Mario in the original NES game, but then when I played Super Mario 64, he was enormous, and I'm like, wow, Bowser's a lot bigger than I thought in proportion to Mario. And then as you play more and more games, you start to get the sense that his scale is something a bit more fluid. And there's nothing wrong with that, really. So in Smash, he's unsurprisingly very big relative to the other fighters, but still nothing quite like he was in Super Mario 64, except in the case of Giga Bowser, who, you may not know this, was actually first introduced in Smash Bros. Giga Bowser is a boss from the Melee Adventure mode, and then of course the form would go on to take shape in Bowser's final Smash. Bowser's heavy and slow and he hits hard. He doesn't lend himself well to my playing style because he's not very fleet of foot, but I love fighting against him because he's a really big target. Of course he can knock you off the stage no problem if he gets a good beat on you, but because of his long-standing Nintendo heritage, he's just so fun to beat up on. Speaking of long-standing heritage, there's another Nintendo villain who dates all the way back to the NES, who has never appeared in Smash Bros., and I'm wondering if perhaps Bowser might be the vehicle by which this character finally makes his playable Smash debut. I'm talking about classic Super Mario Bros. 2 villain Wart. Most of you probably never even saw Wart. He has somewhat of an interesting and sordid past, owing to the fact that Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually just a reimagining of Doki Doki Panic. So Wart is the Doki Doki Panic villain before he became the Super Mario Bros. Villain. He was kind of inherited by Super Mario Bros. His primary attack is shooting bubbles at you, and he suffers from a horrible vegetable allergy, so if you throw vegetables in his mouth, which is a reoccurring theme of that game, then you can defeat him. So maybe in Smash Bros. Peach would have a little bit of an advantage with her Super Mario Bros. 2 vegetable throwing throwback. Nah, I'm just kidding. Wart also made a little cameo appearance in Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Game Boy, where he teaches Link to play the Frog Song of Soul. So I always thought it was pretty interesting how Wart is a villain who can bridge the gap between Mario and Zelda. There's not too many characters who do that, and that's kind of awesome. Of course, in Link's Awakening, his name was Mamu. Mamu is Wart's name from Doki Doki Panic, which was changed to Wart when it was localized for the US release of Super Mario Bros. 2. Wart, being a frog, is not that dissimilar from Bowser, who's some kind of hybrid turtle dragon, or King K. Rool, who is a crocodile-like creature. What are those things called? Kremling, I believe, if we're being specific. You know, because Donkey Kong is not actually a monkey, he's a Kong. Nintendo has a tendency to play fast and loose with species, that's okay. So I can easily imagine Wart being an echo fighter for either Bowser or King K. Rool. I would tend to think more Bowser because of how much extraneous effort went into specifically designing King K. Rool to reference all of his game appearances. And Bowser is more of a general archetypal tapestry for a basic classic Nintendo video game in general villain. And Wart fits that same basic profile. Instead of shooting fire, maybe he shoots a bubble stream. I don't know how many amphibian reptile-type creatures Smash Brothers can handle. Add Ridley into the mix and we have a dinosaur, sort of. Is there room for another cold-blooded creature in Smash? Are we reaching the breaking point for villains? Or perhaps maybe the more significant question is there anybody out there who would even want Wart in the game? I, of course, have very formative memories of him because I played through Super Mario Bros. 2 when I was a little kid. You have to understand, at the time when I played Super Mario Bros. 2, Wart was on equal footing with Bowser because Bowser had only made one game appearance. That kind of put both of them on par. It wasn't until Super Mario Bros. 3 with the return of Bowser, and then of course his 16-bit debut in Super Mario World, where Bowser would really establish himself as Mario's primary nemesis. I think it would be great if Wart was in the game, but is it asking too much? Mr. Sakurai has already so far exceeded my expectations that if the character roster were to end right now, I would have zero complaints. I'm sure we can all think of 5 or 6 characters we'd love to throw into the mix if at all possible, but the game is bursting at the seams as it is, so I'm not trying to campaign to get Wart into the game or anything like that. I just, as a general curiosity, let me know what you think. Are you familiar with Wart? Do you think that he would be a good Echo Fighter for Bowser? Is there another character you think he might be a better Echo Fighter of? Does he deserve his own character treatment? Or is he a part of Nintendo's history that's better left in the past? Let me know in the comment section below. The next bit of business on the Smash blog is another character spotlight, this time for Toon Link. Toon Link had a really interesting introduction for the Nintendo GameCube when Wind Waker was first announced. For reference, this was the first console game to release after Majora's Mask, which was built on the same engine as Ocarina of Time, which was a landmark game that many still consider to be one of the best games of the past 100 years. It certainly had a very strong influence on the Zelda series where they were moving forward. It brought Link into the 3D space. The polygonal art from the Nintendo 64 doesn't really hold up as well as the 8 or 16-bit graphics from the NES and the Super NES, and as Nintendo was moving into smoother 3D rendered shapes, they released a tech demo that was a very realistic looking adult Link that seemed like what we had remembered from Ocarina of Time, only just darker and very visually impressive. Then when that tech demo didn't actually result in a game, and Nintendo announced Wind Waker, there was a huge backlash. People were like, where did this little weird chibi cartoon character come from? I want that game from that tech demo. People generally fell into two camps. You had those who immediately rejected Wind Waker just based on the look, and those who were somewhat charmed by Link's expressive appearance and the cel-shaded graphics. I found myself in the latter category, and I went into Wind Waker with a very open mind. Almost immediately I was overwhelmed by how smooth the game played. I loved the way that Link controlled, and I didn't mind that they had started to establish that Link could appear in different forms from game to game. Since I had played every iteration of Zelda up to that point, I had already gotten somewhat used to Link's appearance varying from title to title, so this wasn't really anything new for me, but I imagine people whose first introduction to the series was Ocarina of Time expected something more down that path, which is completely understandable because most games tend to follow the path with a consistent art style from one to the next, and that's kind of one of the things that sets Nintendo apart. One game your character could be realistic looking 3D rendered graphics, the next game they could be made out of clay or yarn. But without getting too tangential, or well, rather more tangential than I already got, Toon Link made his Smash Bros. Debut in Brawl for the Nintendo Wii, and he kind of more or less replaced Young Link. Young Link's appearances coming from the Nintendo 64 titles and being somewhat stale at the time of Brawl's release, it made sense to introduce a more contemporary version of Link. And because I suppose it didn't really make sense to have two clone characters of Link, there wasn't much sense in having a Young Link and a Toon Link, at the time that is. Now with both Nintendo 64 Zeldas remade for the 3DS, and those games still being played, I'm sure there's a young audience out there who would love to play as Young Link in Smash Brothers. Or in the case of myself, a gamer who played Young Link back in the day, and am more than happy to welcome him back to the Smash fold. Maybe some of you out there are asking how many Links in Smash is too many. The correct answer to that question is 12. You can have every different iteration of Link in Smash Brothers, and that would be okay. That's just my opinion as a huge Legend of Zelda fan. And I'm only half kidding. Toon Link is a great fit in Smash. I, for one, am certainly glad that all three different versions that have appeared in the game are now playable in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Let me ask you, are there any versions of Link that categorically don't fall into one of the three Links that are already represented that you would like to see added to Smash Bros? With Breath of the Wild replacing the Twilight Princess design, are you missing a more classic version of adult Link? With the enduring popularity of retro games, do you want to see them work an 8-bit Link in there somehow? Please let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. The musical selection for this week is the main theme from Pikmin. Not all of Nintendo's franchises contain soundtracks that inspire heart-pumping action. I would put Pikmin in that category. While I really love the music, my general impression is that it's more of a serene and calming nature as you're exploring the world with your little Pikmin pals. So one of the most interesting things to me is how when you translate these music selections from their original game into Smash Bros., you have to find some way that they suit the fast-paced action of Smash, but also are still representative of the series that they're from. Oftentimes this is done by increasing the tempo or changing the instrumentation. I think this Pikmin theme is an example of it done really well. It's got a really driving boom, 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 but yet it's immediately recognizable as a Pikmin song. Listen for yourself at smashbrothers.com under the music tab. You can of course listen to any of the music selections that Nintendo has put on the Smash blog so far. So treat your ears and then come on back here and let me know what you think. Next up, we get a better look at one of the stages playable in Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Ice Climbers inspired Summit. Ice Climbers, of course, debuting on the NES. Ice is in the name, and as the game suggests, you're climbing ice. The stage appears to shift, and you can kind of slide down the surface of the summit into the ocean. Now, it's not clear if this is a slippery stage where just walking around on the ice, you have a little bit less traction than you might on some of the other stages. I hope you do. I think that would be a unique feature that would help this stage stand out. I don't really have much experience with Ice Climbers from their own game. It would be really cool if maybe they had some kind of terrain advantage on this stage because they got those little spiked shoes. There are some pretty cool callbacks to the Ice Climbers game, the polar bear with the sunglasses and the swimming trunks, and also the mysterious fish. That thing is scary looking. I'm talking the stuff of nightmares. We've got another character feature for you, this time Ryu from the Street Fighter series. He's a special guest character who made his Smash Bros. Debut in the last iteration for the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS. Ryu was a shocking inclusion for me. Nintendo's had a long-standing and healthy relationship with Capcom. We had, at this point, already had Mega Man put into the game. But if you would have asked me back in the early 90s when I was playing Street Fighter 2 if I ever thought I would have the opportunity to throw a Hadouken at Link or Mario, I would have told you you were insane. But yet, here he is, and the most impressive thing about Ryu's inclusion in Smash Bros. Is not only does he play and feel just like any other Smash Bros. Character, he plays and feels exactly like how he did from his own game. You can even use Ryu's Street Fighter inputs to perform his special moves. That is such a respectful way to honor the fighting game genre in my opinion. I'll admit I haven't kept up with any of the recent Street Fighter games, but I played through all those Street Fighter 2s. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Ultimate, Super Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, Super Ultra Awesome Killer Elimination Round, Street Fighter 2 Turbo with Knuckles. I also played a lot of Mortal Kombat at the time. Man, wouldn't a Scorpion in Smash be awesome? As a Street Fighter player, Ryu was always my main, and I think that's in large part because I like to pretend to be him. Out of all the characters in the cast, he bore the closest resemblance to me. I realize it's vague at best, but it was certainly acceptable for my 10-year-old self. And to say Ryu had a strong influence on my life would be a little bit of an understatement. You've probably heard me mention in a previous episode of the show how Link inspired me to grow up to be a professional sword fighter. Ryu in many ways inspired me to become a martial artist. The first martial art I ever studied was Japanese Shotokan. Like Ryu, I trained very hard for 5 or 6 years and I did acquire my black belt, and I've continued to train in martial arts ever since. I'm actually competing in a local martial arts tournament next week, so without Ryu, it's not hard to imagine that my life might be different. Ryu has a buddy, a training partner, his name is Ken. Ken got the trophy treatment back in Smash Bros. For Wii U, and there is a little bit of Echo Fighter talk. I would go so far as to say that Ken is the original Echo Fighter. He fought in the exact same style as Ryu, he used all of the same moves as Ryu, all of his techniques were identical to Ryu, but there were some subtle balancing differences. And of course, Ken's signature long blonde locks and red martial arts gi. I don't want to delve too far into speculation about Ken as an Echo Fighter, because there is an upcoming Smash Switch speculation episode that I do with my buddy Amiibo Jason, where we're going to talk in a lot more detail about Ken as a potential Echo Fighter. Obviously it would be very easy to implement, so it's really more of a question of whether or not that's a direction Nintendo wants to go. I'll sit on my thoughts for now. I hope you check out the episode of Smash Switch speculation, but let me know what you think. Should Nintendo take advantage of Ken and Ryu similarities and add him as an Echo Fighter? Is that something you'd even want to see? Let me know in the comment section below. And the final entry on the Smash blog for this week is pulled straight from the Nintendo Direct that happened on Thursday, a reveal trailer for Smash Bros.' newest newcomer, Isabel from Animal Crossing. Last week on Smash Switch Speculation, Amiibo Jason and I predicted that Isabel would be included into Smash Bros. As an Echo Fighter or Villager. Turns out we were a little off the mark. Isabel comes fully loaded with her own unique moveset. She's a combat version of all the Animal Crossing hallmarks, from watering plants, throwing parties with confetti poppers, fishing for fighters, going on a scenic balloon ride up in the sky, and even manages to get a little bit of work done fulfilling some city ordinances, laying down signs and stuff like that. All in all, Isabel appears to be a very faithful translation from Animal Crossing into Smash Brothers. I know a lot of people express that they just can't imagine this cute little doggo in a combative capacity, but much the same could be said for a lot of these fighters here in Smash Brothers. I think Mr. Sakurai knocked it out of the park again. I don't see myself really being that enticed to play as Isabel. I'm happy she's in there for all you Isabel fans. I definitely loves me some Animal Crossing. Speaking of which, immediately following Isabel's Smash introduction, we got treated to a little bit of Tom Nook, the resident Animal Crossing Tanuki Crook, and my first thought was, oh, is Tom Nook gonna be an Echo Fighter of Isabel? Because honestly, it was easier to believe than that an Animal Crossing was really being announced for Switch. Like all other Animal Crossing fans out there, I've been really excited and clamoring for a new Animal Crossing game for some time now, and it's almost been so long, and Nintendo has been so mum's the word on it, that I started to wonder if it was ever actually gonna really happen. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that Tom Nook is not a playable character in Smash Brothers, because I cannot imagine that portly Tanuki tycoon swinging his bells around. But in any event, Isabel's inclusion gives Animal Crossing and Smash fans a lot to be excited for. And the only other Smash related news covered in the Direct is the official reveal of a bundle that will be releasing this holiday that includes a specially designed Nintendo Switch that includes a digital download code of Super Smash Bros. The dock comes equipped with character art on the side. It's in keeping with the design that we saw of the Pro Controller, and the Joy-Cons that come with it feature the two crossed lines of the Smash Ball. So very minimalistic, maybe too minimalistic in my opinion. I did purchase a Switch as soon as Smash Bros. Was announced at E3. I was 100% convinced that there would be some kind of Smash Special Edition. I did think about holding out for it. I have to say I'm actually not that disappointed that I didn't wait. If I did not own a Switch already, this would be the version I would be buying, but honestly it doesn't really offer any strong incentive from a design standpoint. I think it's cool enough. I would describe this special edition as perhaps a little bit too basic, but I want to know what you think. Does this Smash Bros. Special Edition design appeal to you? If you don't already own a Switch, is this the version you're going to pick up? I'll tell you what, if they made some kind of special Breath of the Wild edition that included gold Joy-Cons, I'd go into credit card debt for that baby. I guess that's kind of what I was hoping for a Smash Special Edition. So make no mistake, I'm not disappointed. I don't think it's disappointing. I just don't find it especially appealing. But you know, that's just my side of things. So please weigh in with your thoughts in the comment section below. And you know what, everybody? That wraps up another edition of Smash Ultimate Countdown. If this show is helping you pass the time between now and December 7th, let me know by hitting that like button. Please accept my humble invitation to subscribe to the channel for more Smash related content. Maybe Me Season 3 is in full swing. For those of you who don't know, it is my epic goodbye send-off to Smash Brothers for Wii U. I'm having a lot of fun with it. We have a really active community in the comment section. I'd love if you joined. Episodes go up every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And be sure to ring that notifications bell so you get the alert as soon as a video goes live. If you watched through this whole video, I want to let you know I really appreciate you spending your time with me. There's nothing I'm more excited to talk about than Super Smash Brothers. So I'm genuinely very thankful I have somebody who wants to listen. To all my patrons out there, thank you guys so much. It really means the world to me that you deem my content worthy of your support, and I do my best day in and day out to live up to your expectations. I love you guys. Hope to see all of you next time. Till then, thanks for playing.
What?